Let's talk social media commenting strategy.
You're a voice actor. You're an entrepreneur. You're a VOPRENEUR. Welcome to the Everyday VOpreneur podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover.
Having your voiceover demos easily playable and downloadable on your website is essential. The VoiceSam player lets you do that across any device and browser. There are also options for adding play buttons in your email signature, tracking your listens, and even putting videos in your demo player. Sign up now at voicesam.com/MarkScott and receive an instant $25 credit. For full details and to claim this offer, visit voicesam.com/MarkScott.
The VOPRENEUR podcast. Hey, it doesn't suck.
Not as funny as Conan. Not as cute as Seth Meyers. Not as smart as Colbert. But he's one of us, and that counts for something. Here's Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOpreneur.
Hello and welcome to the Everyday VOpreneur podcast, your guide through the business of voiceover. I'm Mark Scott, the original Everyday VOpreneur, here with the final summer series episode for 2022, which, if I'm being perfectly honest, is making me maybe just a little bit sad, only in that it means that summer's over. And I don't know that I'm ready for summer to be over yet, because I don't even feel like I got started with summer yet. And maybe you feel the same way too. But the interviews are coming back next week. Now, just before we dive into this week's episode, I do want to remind you that Voiceover Marketing Playbook is coming very, very soon. In fact, I have been working throughout the month of August on a couple of different updates to the course to make sure that it is ready to roll out in September. So if you need help with marketing, if you don't know what to do, if you don't know what to say, if you don't know who to reach out to, Voiceover Marketing Playbook is the course that is going to help you. And I am offering a special, one-time only, never-before offered bonus for anybody who signs up for Playbook Complete on day one. So you're going to want to stand by for details on that. Playbook coming out September 6th through the 15th, 2022. And details at voiceovermarketingplaybook.com. All right, let's talk commenting strategy for social media. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I am not an expert on social media algorithms by any stretch of the imagination, but as I use a number of the different social media platforms, and as I've been using many of them for a number of years, there are a few things that I've picked up on, and there are a few things that are, mostly publicly known when it comes to social media algorithms. And knowing this information can help you create a comment strategy that can potentially increase not only the organic reach of posts that you're sharing on social media, but it can also extend the life cycle of those posts that you share on social media. And by saying extend the life cycle, what I mean is if you post something that nobody engages with, within a couple of hours, the algorithm has forgotten about the post and it gets buried and nobody is going to see it. But if you post something on social media and people start to engage with it, and particularly if they start to comment on it, then that post can stay up in the algorithm for days and even weeks if you're doing it right. And so obviously we are creating content and working hard to create content. We want more eyeballs on our content, so it only stands to reason that we should do the things that we can do to try to make sure that more people see it. And so that's where there is a certain amount of strategy that comes into play, particularly when it comes to commenting strategy on social media. So what I'm going to talk about today is relevant across multiple platforms as well. I mean, I've noticed it in particular on LinkedIn, but I have seen it work on YouTube. I have seen it work on Instagram, and I have seen it work on Facebook as well. And all of these sites, they're all algorithm driven. Here's the number one basic thing that you need to understand about any social media platform and the algorithm. Doesn't matter what platform it is. These sites are designed to keep people on the site. Because all of these sites, although they're free for you and me to use, they are ad machines, right? Their revenues are generated from selling ads. That's why every time you scroll through any social media, you are seeing sponsored posts, boosted posts, paid advertisements. You're seeing YouTube pre-rolls and all of that sort of stuff, right? This is how the platforms pay for themselves. In order to get an increase in ad revenue, they need to keep people on the site. The longer that you're on the site, the more time that they have to push advertising to you, the more money that they ultimately make. So that's rule number one in understanding how to use social media effectively, is understanding that the sites, every one of them, are designed to get people there and keep people there. That's why you've got your endless scroll on Instagram or your endless scroll on TikTok, for example, where you sit and you just flick your thumb on your phone, and before long, it's like, oh, I just lost an hour. These sites are designed to make you stay. So, how does this impact the content that we share? Well, first and foremost, we want to create content that is engaging. We want to create content that makes people want to engage with us. And one of the things that I have found, particularly on LinkedIn, and this works on Instagram as well, is posing some sort of a question. Opening the door to start a conversation loop, I guess is the way that I would state it, where if you read my post or you watch my video or you look at my picture, it's going to make you want to say something. It's going to make you want to share something. And by making you want to share something and leaving that comment, I am now creating content that is driving engagement. And as long as I am creating content that is driving engagement, I am keeping people on the platforms longer. That is what the algorithm wants. So always keep that in mind. Are you just throwing content up for the sake of throwing content up? Or are you taking a minute to consider, who is this for? Is this going to add value to them? And is this going to make them want to engage? Or am I prompting them, maybe leaving a call to action in the post, which prompts them to engage? So that's the one thing you've got to take into consideration. But now that your content is out there, you've thought about your audience, you've created great content, and you're starting to get some engagement on the content, what is the comment strategy that helps make that content last longer? Comments are gold on social media. If people just look at your post, you're only going to get a certain amount of love from the algorithm. If people react to your post, that is, thumbs up or the celebrate or the care or the love emoji, all of those different types of reactions that you can do across any of the social media platforms, you're going to get a little bit more love from the algorithm because that is a level of engagement. But if people are commenting on your post, you're going to get even more love from the algorithm because that shows a higher level of engagement. So here's the trick. This is what I've learned. Let's say that you share a post on one of the social media platforms. For argument's sake, we're just going to say LinkedIn. You put up this post on LinkedIn, and it really strikes a chord with your audience. And within the first hour or two of that post being shared, you've generated 4 or 5 comments. What do you do now? What most people do is ignore the comments, and that is not the right play. The second group of people will respond to every comment as they roll in. And that's okay, but I think that there's a way that you can do it better. What I have found is that if I space out my replies, it seems to make my posts last longer. So what do I mean by that? At 10 o'clock in the morning, I share a post. And by 11 o'clock in the morning, I have 5 comments. So at noon, I respond to 1 comment. And then maybe at 4 o'clock, I come back and I respond to another one of the comments. And then maybe the next day, I come back and I respond to 1 or 2 more of the comments. And by doing that, by new comments going on, it's keeping engagement going on that post, which is continuing to push it up in the algorithm, which means that it is getting sent out to more people. So that is the ultimate comment strategy that I have found that works across multiple social media platforms. First and foremost, you've got to respond to your comments. Always make sure that you're responding to your comments. Acknowledge all of those comments. And that is Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, doesn't matter. If you're trying to gain traction on your post and you are getting comments, always respond to your comments. But if you want to make it last a little bit longer, then just spread those responses out. Don't respond to every comment right away. And by using this strategy, and where I've noticed it definitely the best is on LinkedIn, but I've also seen it work for me personally on YouTube and Instagram. But on LinkedIn, I have had posts that have continued to get comments for as much as 2 weeks by simply spreading out my responses. Now, one other thing to clarify though, If you've got one post that's getting a lot of traction, does that mean that you shouldn't post anything else for the next 2 weeks? No, definitely not. You always want to make sure that there's fresh content going on your page. But if you have something that's really hot, if you really post something great, a great video that strikes a chord with people, a great graphic or an image that resonates with people, maybe a long form text post on LinkedIn that resonates with people, there's ways that you can stretch that out. And by strategically responding to comments, that's one of the ways that you can do it. Always be thinking, how do I get people to engage? How do I keep them on the platform longer? Because if you can accomplish those two things, you are always going to get more love from the algorithm, which means you are always going to get more traction from your social media posts. Have you found this helpful? Let me know that you're listening and let me know that you are learning. Would you do me a favor? Share that you're listening to the podcast in your Instagram stories and tag me on Instagram as well at Mark Scott. I will see it. I will share it. I will help drive your Instagram engagement a little bit more as well. So share it and tag me at Mark Scott. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging in. Thanks for hanging out. Want more VOpreneur goodness? Jump online at VOPRENEUR.com.